Welcome to Whispers and Confessions. There might be a twist waiting, so please make sure to watch until the end. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Let's begin right away.
She showed me feelings I'd never experienced before. Each moment brought different sensations that built to an incredible climax. The moment felt really special. This would be a night I'd never forget. Outside, the storm continued. Finally, we shared one last passionate kiss before drifting off to sleep. I'm Tyler, 39, and my wife Zoe is 36. We met at our college sports club and just hit it off right away. Back in her school days, Zoe was on the basketball team, and she's kept that fit, athletic figure all these years. Our marriage has been amazing. Over the last 10 years, we've built this really deep connection based on love and just getting each other. Zoe's sporty background gives her this incredible energy that's contagious, and I've stayed pretty active myself, which keeps things exciting between us. We always try to share these sweet little moments each day. Sometimes it's just a quick hug before work, or relaxing together in the shower after a long day. These simple things really bring us closer. Traveling together has become our favorite way to make memories and keep our relationship fresh. Every summer, we head to this gorgeous beach resort we love. We spend our days playing in the pool and just chilling in comfy clothes, enjoying being together. At night, we like to sit out on the balcony with a glass of wine under the stars, and mornings start with coffee and those special looks we share across the breakfast table. This year, though, we decided to try something different. Since Zoe had always been a mountain girl at heart, we picked the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, with their stunning natural beauty. Surrounded by massive mountains reaching up to the sky and thick pine forests covering the mountainsides, we were ready for some new adventures and wanted to bring back that excitement between us. The local hot springs were especially appealing. We figured their natural warmth would add an extra touch of romance to our getaway. The trip turned out even better than we'd hoped. We hiked through fields of beautiful wildflowers in the Rockies, passing gorgeous blue-green lakes along the way. For an extra thrill, we went ziplining through the forest canopy. Our evenings were magical. We'd cuddle up around the campfire, stargazing and enjoying each other's company. One morning, we dragged ourselves out of bed before dawn to hike up to a peak for sunrise. It was amazing watching the sun peek through the clouds and light up the sky. The crisp mountain air and cool breezes coming off the snowy peaks were exactly what we needed to forget about our busy city lives. When it was finally time to head home, we felt a bit sad to leave. We took our time driving back, making plenty of stops at scenic spots and rest areas. Around mid-afternoon, we pulled into a local diner for a late lunch. While enjoying our meal at the diner, the sky suddenly turned dark and thunder rumbled overhead. Zoe nervously glanced up and said, "I think there might be a tornado coming." "I'm scared." The staff calmly told us, "Don't worry too much. This area frequently gets severe storm and tornado warnings because of how quickly the weather changes." Looking back, we probably could have made it home if we'd left right then. Instead, I tried to downplay the situation. "You know how unpredictable Midwest weather can be," I said casually. "Let's finish our lunch. I'm sure it'll blow over soon." Zoe nodded in agreement. We were quite pleased with our choice to stop at this local diner. Their chicken fried steak was not only reasonably priced, but came in generous portions that left us both satisfied. Unfortunately, by the time we finished eating, the storm had only gotten worse. The diner staff's warning became more urgent. "It's not safe to drive now. There's a real risk of running into a tornado." Our hopes of waiting out the storm quickly faded, and we realized we'd have to stay at the diner for a while longer. As Zoe and I sat talking and watching the storm through the window, the diner's door burst open. A drenched couple rushed in, exclaiming, "God, it's awful out there." I said sympathetically, "That looks rough," and they shook their heads, saying, "You wouldn't believe how bad it is." We soon learned they were Lucas and Ava, ages 39 and 37. Despite being soaked from the rain, Ava caught my attention with her pretty face and curvy figure. Her wet t-shirt clung to her body in a way that was hard not to notice, though I tried to be discreet about it. We hit it off immediately, finding we had lots in common given our similar ages and interests. As the weather continued to get worse, one of the diner staff finally said, "Folks, I don't think anyone should be on the roads tonight. You'd better find a motel nearby." We didn't plan for extra costs, but we had to stay safe. We started searching for available motels, with Lucas and Ava joining in as we continued getting to know each other. The sky grew darker by the minute, making everyone in the diner flinch at each crack of thunder. Zoe, who'd never been comfortable with storms, was visibly on edge. In contrast, Lucas and Ava remained surprisingly calm. Lucas kept cracking jokes to lighten the mood, while Ava's gentle smile had a calming effect on everyone. As we chatted about our travels, we learned that Lucas was a nature photographer with a real passion for his craft, while Ava taught yoga and loved meditating outdoors. We discovered we all loved camping and hiking, and before long, we were talking like we'd known each other forever. There was something special about this couple. They saw things the same way we did. When Lucas pulled out his phone to show us his nature shots, his eyes lit up with genuine enthusiasm. And when Ava spoke about finding inner peace through yoga, you could tell she practiced what she preached. Zoe was especially drawn to Ava's yoga stories. Being an ex-athlete herself, she was intrigued by the focus on flexibility and balance. I found myself stealing glances at Ava's curvy figure, trying not to make it obvious. Meanwhile, Lucas was all ears when I talked about my hiking adventures, even floating the idea of us hitting the trails together sometime. Time flew by as we swapped stories about our jobs, hobbies, and what we believed in. It felt like catching up with old friends rather than meeting strangers. None of us could have guessed this chance meeting would turn into something so meaningful. Outside, the tornado threat was getting serious. You could hear the windows rattling with each gust. But strangely enough, the scarier it got outside, the closer we all became. We were in this together, giving each other strength and comfort through the storm. Realizing the danger of the situation, we immediately started looking for a place to stay. Ava gave us a friendly smile and said, "Hey, maybe we should all get rooms at the same motel?" I felt a mix of concern about the storm and an unexpected excitement about spending more time with this fascinating couple. We all pulled out our phones and started searching. We soon found out we needed to call places directly. The online bookings weren't showing real-time availability. Most places were already full because of other travelers escaping the tornado warning. I noticed my hands were shaking a bit as I made calls. Glancing at Zoe, I could tell she was really worried too. We hadn't planned for extra expenses on this trip, so fancy hotels weren't an option. The thought of possibly getting stuck in our car during this awful weather was making us both nervous. Lucas and Ava were also looking concerned. Lucas kept checking the weather updates with a worried frown, while Ava said softly, "I don't think it's safe to drive in this." We all wanted to stay safe, but the unexpected cost of a hotel room was definitely on everyone's mind. Though it was discouraging to hear "no vacancy" over and over, having company during this emergency made things feel a bit better. Surprisingly, being with these strangers gave us all a sense of comfort. At least we weren't facing this alone. Just when we were starting to lose hope, Ava excitedly announced she'd found a motel. But when we called to book it, they told us they only had one room left with a king-size bed. The four of us just stared at each other, not knowing what to say about this unexpected twist. I caught Zoe's eye and could instantly read her thoughts. After getting to know this couple over several hours of easy conversation, the idea of sharing a room with strangers didn't seem quite so strange. I had mixed feelings. While part of me worried about the awkwardness of sharing space with people we just met, another part felt surprisingly comfortable with the idea after spending so much time chatting with them. I had grown to appreciate Ava's peaceful energy when she talked about yoga and Lucas's ability to make everyone laugh. Plus, it felt safer to have people we could trust nearby during this emergency. Looking at Zoe, I could tell we were thinking the same thing. Our silent exchange spoke volumes. While we'd never consider something like this normally, Tonight's unique circumstances made it feel okay. Listen, I said carefully, since we're out of options and it's safer to stick together, what if we all shared the room? I worried I might be overstepping with the suggestion. To my relief, Lucas and Ava quickly agreed. We headed back to thank the diner owner who had given us shelter during the storm. He seemed genuinely pleased we'd found a safe place to stay, and we promised to come back once the weather cleared. It was pouring as we drove to the motel. When we finally arrived, I found myself thinking, I've never seen rain like this before. Yet despite the weather, there was an unexpected flutter of butterflies in my stomach as I thought, you know what? This could turn out to be interesting. After getting to our room, we shared a casual dinner together, took turns taking showers, and changed into comfortable loungewear. The night turned into a relaxed hangout as we sat around drinking beer and chatting. Since we were all about the same age and lived relatively close to each other, conversation came naturally. Time flew by as we enjoyed each other's company. I couldn't help but notice the contrast between the women's attire. While Zoe was modestly dressed in pajamas, Ava wore just a loose t-shirt that suggested she wasn't wearing a bra underneath. The outline of her figure was subtly visible, and I found my eyes drawn to her despite myself. Over beers, we discovered shared interests and hobbies. When Lucas mentioned his love for basketball, Zoe's face lit up, and soon they were deep in an excited conversation about their favorite NBA teams. Ava's passion for wellness really came through as she talked about her work as a yoga instructor. We had an engaging conversation about the latest health trends, and I found myself drawn to her soft voice and the way her eyes twinkled when she smiled. As the alcohol loosened our inhibitions, the conversation became more personal. Lucas shared the story of how he and Ava met, which prompted Zoe to tell our own love story. Things started getting more personal as we began sharing the kind of stories usually kept private. I found myself feeling more and more captivated by Ava. The way she moved with grace and spoke with intelligence had me mesmerized. As the alcohol flowed, I began seeing her in a different light. Despite feeling both guilty and excited, probably thanks to the drinks, I couldn't deny that even those conflicting emotions felt somehow thrilling. By now, both Zoe and I were quite drunk from all the drinking. Lucas and Ava seemed better at holding their liquor, though they were probably even more drunk than we were. Eventually, Ava brought up her intimate life with Lucas. "We like to keep things interesting," she shared. "Lucas loves exploring new things." This gave Zoe the courage to open up too. "Our love life is pretty exciting," she admitted. "Especially when we're traveling. Things tend to get more passionate." Her candid confession caught me off guard, but the conversation was already getting more intimate. Lucas grinned and chimed in. "We like making each trip memorable too. Sometimes we get a bit adventurous." Nobody needed him to spell out what he meant. We could all feel the tension in the air. Ava's cheeks were pink as she added, "We do enjoy mixing things up a bit." And suddenly the room felt even warmer. When I glanced at Zoe, I could see the same curiosity in her eyes that I was feeling. The alcohol had definitely loosened everyone up when Lucas carefully suggested, "You know, since we're in this unique situation, maybe we could try something extra special?" A tense silence filled the room. The suggestion was obvious to everyone. Under normal circumstances, this would have been unthinkable, but the combination of alcohol and our unique situation had made us all surprisingly adventurous. Ava continued her husband's thought. "What happens tonight stays between us," she said softly, her voice taking on an intimate tone. When I glanced at Zoe, I noticed her cheeks were flushed pink, her eyes sparkling with a mix of anticipation and curiosity. Our eyes met, and we both knew what we wanted. The alcohol had definitely loosened our inhibitions. Then Ava leaned in close, her breath warm against my ear. "I want to make this night special with you," she whispered seductively. Across from us, Zoe cuddled up to Lucas, flashing a flirtatious smile as she murmured, "Let's make tonight memorable." The alcohol had made us bold, but in that moment, everything felt perfectly natural. We got comfortable on the bed, with Lucas and Zoe in the middle while Ava and I took the outer spots, lying next to each other. As the effects of alcohol began to fade, I felt butterflies in my stomach. I kept stealing glances at Zoe lying on the inside of the bed, and I could tell she was conscious of what was unfolding too. Despite the room's dim lighting, we could still read each other's expressions. Suddenly, Ava shifted, turning to face me completely and playfully tangling her feet with mine. The unexpected contact made me turn towards her, and I realized just how close her face was to mine, close enough that I could feel her breath. I was surprised by her boldness, but I found myself slowly responding to her gentle touches. Soft whispers and intimate sounds drifted over from Zoe and Lucas's direction. Despite a slight hesitation, I was distracted by Ava's increasingly bold advances. Maybe it was the storm that brought us here, but this moment felt meant to be, and I decided to fully embrace it. As Ava continued to press closer, her feet still intertwined with mine, she leaned in and kissed me. I returned her kiss softly, feeling my inhibitions melting away. Ava's shy glance made me gently slide my hand inside the collar of her robe, caressing her soft skin. With only a thin shirt beneath her robe, I soon found my way to her breasts. Ava's body tensed as she wrapped her legs more tightly around mine, holding me close. The tension between us grew more intense. As I tenderly stroked her thighs, she blushed in the dim light, letting out a soft sigh as she shivered under my touch. Next to us, I could hear Zoe and Lucas had fallen silent except for Zoe's soft breaths. I tenderly caressed Ava's body, from her breasts to her waist, down to her legs. She welcomed my touch as I reached her inner thigh. My gentle touches made her body quiver with desire. Ava was completely lost in the moment now. She gazed into my eyes, gave a subtle nod, and let me explore further. Ava's body trembled with desire as I touched her intimately. Her breathing became heavy and uneven, and though she tried to stay quiet, she couldn't help responding to my every touch. In the dim light, she looked absolutely breathtaking. Then Ava began exploring my body in return. Her delicate hands moved from my neck, across my chest and stomach, down to my waist. She gently parted my legs and started touching me in ways that made me gasp with pleasure. I could feel myself approaching climax, completely absorbed in the moment with her. Her touch was both tender and sure. As she kissed her way down my legs, pleasure built inside me towards an intense climax. This felt amazingly different, slow, tender, unlike anything before. We moved as one, finding our own perfect rhythm. Even with Zoe and Lucas beside us, I stayed focused on this incredible connection with Ava. The room filled with sounds of pleasure and a wonderful sense of warmth between us all. With Ava, I experienced intimacy in a whole new way. Each touch and movement brought new feelings and sensations I'd never felt before. The moment felt incredible and meaningful. I knew this would be a night I'd never forget. Outside, the storm raged on. Finally, we shared one last passionate kiss before falling asleep in each other's arms. The next morning, I woke up to soft voices and saw Zoe still sleeping peacefully beside me. Looking over, I saw Lucas and Ava by the window, chatting quietly and sharing little laughs. I caught Ava's eye and mumbled a sleepy, "Good morning," which she answered with a warm smile and cheerful "morning." Through the window, the sky was completely clear now, showing nothing but bright blue skies. It looked like the drive home would be easy today.